Good morning. Good morning. I just wanted to try and do an early one. I'm going to be busy today. And I'm testing out to see just my flow of my ability to speak and register what I've been thinking about. And there's a lot. There's a lot. But this morning I didn't want to get up at first. I wanted to sleep in a little longer, but since I don't have to rush out of the house, I wanted to challenge myself to get up, have a morning talk. We've been trying to organize our house, which is really hard for a clutter bug like me. But I've been getting after it, trying to organize outside. Yesterday I got some bare roots for my comfrey plants. And I didn't put them out in the garden, but I put them in a little planter, pretty big planter actually. They'll be fine in there for a few days, even though it's cold. They'll be good, and maybe I can get them babies in the ground later today, maybe tomorrow. It's supposed to be nice. But yeah, our water situation out west, it's not I usually, although I'm a gardener, I usually am pretty good with my water usage. Our property, it's a fairly good size. We have a ton of just annual flowers that grow. I have a few perennials, not too many trees. So the last few years I've tried to plant things that can do fairly well with little water. And I also mulch a lot, and I make these mounds to compost. So in Utah, we have really, it's dry, it's hot and dry. So we will get rain and snow. And I like to make these mounds above ground to do the Utah version of hugelkultur, which is a way to grow plants vertically by making a mound. So if you're in a more suitable climate, you can dig a trench and fill it with rotted out logs, and then you can build on top of that to make your hugelkultur mound. But in Utah, I've heard that you need to do it above ground. But it seems to work actually, because you pile up all the debris, and after just a year or two, it really starts to shrink down. So I'm trying to build soil that way and grow sunflowers and annual plants that just self-seed. Um, so that's kind of fun. It looks a little wild, but I feel like that's important. We try and sterilize everything in this world nowadays. And I see it even in the winter because I have birds coming to the yard. In fact, most years I leave up a lot of the dead sunflowers I just leave them, and the birds love it. They come to the garden all year long. So I used to get quite impatient with bird noises outside of my window, and I've grown to really appreciate the sounds. It's a lot better than hearing air traffic overhead or screaming children. But no, we've been having a lot of fun. The kids were getting crazy yesterday in the house, and I just said, hey, like, go, if you want to play like that, go outside. You know, but yeah, this one, this mornings are bad for me. I've always struggled in the mornings, but again, this whole process, um, it's it's been really positive because it's giving me an anchor for the rest of my day. And I think having had been pretty busy most of my life, not with a career per se, but with jobs, with gigs. I was always had a handful of people I'd be working for at one time, and just being really overscheduled. And it was what I thought I always wanted. Um, but I think that's what's so awesome about what I'm getting to go through now is this appreciation for having not less to do because I have plenty to do, but like sort of the sense of urgency. I mean, whatever it is I have to do, it's kind of on my time. And there's very few things that are strictly scheduled. This morning, I'm going to go see my sister, watch her kids for a little while, bring my kiddos over, have them play with their cousin. And then maybe I'll get back to my house, do some cleaning up. I'd love to get in the backyard and start building this cool geodesic climbing dome for my son. But I may not do that today. I may wait. We're going to go skiing on Monday, and it's going to be warm, and that'll be 3 weeks in a row, so that'll be awesome. I think the kids have been doing a lot better, not having to wake up so early. Um, it's been nice for me because I've been waking up early, but I don't have to rush to get them out of the house. But Clem, she's doing really well with school. She just tested at a reading level 3 grades higher than her own grade, which in some ways makes me sad because I don't necessarily think she's brilliant. I think she's smart, and I'm proud of her, and she is brilliant in her ways. But what makes me, I don't know, concerned is just this way that we test kids. These ways that we incorporate testing is foundational to all of schooling. And I can understand that. I mean, you need measurements of things, I suppose, but we're so obsessed. And these days you can't even present an alternative without getting jumped all over and people getting so mad. And I've just been thinking, in part with like my old brain, like with the, I feel like it's the narrative that we're told to believe. And if you challenge it, you're jumped all over. But it seems really weird because we're kids that were raised on like science fiction and fantasy and um using our imaginations. Like we were all told that was really important growing up, at least in the like the 80s. You know, watch Stranger Things. Those kids are playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's all about having imagination and getting yourself into the game. And I don't know if that's the best example because maybe kids were really mean about the nerds back then. I don't know. I don't know that they're nicer about it now, though. Like in pop culture, you can claim to be a fan of these science fiction-y things, but can you really be weird now? Like, is it really that acceptable? I mean, yeah, you can have green hair and blue hair and a big old fat ring through the middle of your nose, or yeah, you can do all these things, but I mean, I don't know. I always figured flying your freak flag, it's like you're asking people to make fun of you. It's like you want to fight. And so that seems to be more like what's going on right now. People are like, "Hey, look at me. I'm weird." And then someone calls you weird and you're like super pissed off about that and it breaks you. So, I don't know. I don't know where that's going. Just some musings. But I'm really grateful because for the first time, I feel like on a daily basis, I'm examining my bullshit, calling myself out, and, moving forward. So that's been really good for me. I think I've been able to sleep better and wake up easier than I ever have been. I'm able to keep my temper more even. I'm able to hear about what's going on in the world and not get so consumed by it. I mean, it does worry me, but I'm able to just then go and do what it is I need to do, and not be frozen and stopped. Uh, so I'm just glad I can reflect on these things because I keep thinking about the idea of being of like preppers, okay, the prepper community. I have a lot of respect for them. I'm not saying anything against them per se. Um, I was listening to one of my YouTube channels I really like called Marfugal News, and I do see how anyone in the prepper community can be accused of whatever people say. But what I like about the Marfugal News channel, Marfugal TV, um, is Adam makes a really good effort. He does a call-in show and has a live chat. So he makes a really good effort to ask people to be respectful of one another. And he calls out the truth community for being, haters to one another. And he claims as a Christian, Christians can be very judgmental. So this is why I think it's important to really give other points of view a chance. And it's not to say that you buy into every little thing or you love every single thing about them. That is not the point. I mean, the point that I'm trying to make is if you listen to something and you really give it time, you really give it a chance, you may gain some insights. And the insight may be you better understand that person's fear or their motivation. Maybe that doesn't bring you on board with them, but I think these are the keys to unlocking that part of ourselves where we feel such disdain and anger and bitterness, and that is not something that serves me very well to have those feelings. So I'm sure it doesn't serve very many of us. And again, like there's times where you need to shut things down. For sure. I don't want to promote just listening to everything. There's always something good to be pulled out of it. I mean, maybe not. Maybe there's not merit in the things, but maybe you can pull something out between the lines. And anyway, I wanted to acknowledge that, yeah, I'm not trying to be some guru. I'm just trying to process things because I think we're living in a time where you're really punished for going against whatever narrative your tribe wants to be pushing at the moment. And it's nice to say, like, well, our tribe's different. But these things exist in every collective, every group. And creating that otherness division, it's not going to help. So I'm trying to figure this out as someone who genuinely has a lot of love to give, and also, I mean, I'm full of cynicism too. So I'm definitely navigating this, and it feels a little lonely, but gosh, I think even just that I could do a sort of a video journal this way where I have to talk out loud and then I have to rewatch myself. I'm having these conversations with myself. Okay. And I'm not trying to give up too much to the public, but it's not like, you know, I have like no views on these. And that's so That's so fine because I have like my couple friends that are watching this, and so when you have almost no views and then just one comment on a video, I think that means everything. I think that is so freaking cool. It feels so nice. And Sophia sent me a message this morning, and I just thought that was freaking cool that she's following my journey, and so that's definitely, it's worth a lot, and that's what I'm afraid of, is like getting addicted to a goal of building a channel with a lot of views. I don't see that as my goal. Um so we'll see. We'll see how this all evolves, but I'm not getting a bunch of gear or dedicating any corner of my house to this. I could sit anywhere in the house and do these and just keep it fresh, keep it really, really authentic. Even at times when I'm not being authentic, and but I'm just putting myself out there and I'm able to examine myself. That's what this is all about. And lately I've been sitting in bed. I'm not like sick in bed. This is just the best place for me to be most of the time. But I'm gonna get going with my day. I'm gonna go do the thing I'm really good at, which is keeping an eye on kids, keeping an eye on people, young and old. Sometimes I lose my temper, but most of the time we have fun. And I always tell the children in my life that, when adults get the most angry is when they're scared and they don't know what's going on. And you flip your lid. And in those times when I've yelled at my kids, and you can see it on their face, I try really quick to take it back down, and I should say, hey, I was worried you were going to hurt yourself. Or, you were walking into the middle of the street and there's cars coming. Try and give them some context for why I lost my shit. Try and reset. So I don't always do the best, but I'm definitely mindful. And kids do need to know sometimes it is respectful to shut them down. It is sometimes the best thing you can do is give someone boundaries. And I've definitely let people into my life without setting enough boundaries, and it drained me. And eventually I got the strength to push them out. And sometimes I think back on things I've done, and I just wonder, why do these memories of the past creep up when they do? And maybe that's for us to see. It's important to have regret for sure, I think, because you do have to consider the times where you acted in a way that you first you are regretful for some reason or another. You think, I was a real jerk. Why was I a jerk? I was going through a really tough time in my life. Well, can we do better to pull our heads out of our ass and not punish everyone else around us for the shitty things in our lives? No, sometimes we can't. Sometimes we're incapable. And I have a lot less feelings of regret now. Not because I wish I would make the same decision again. I don't know. I'm now informed of how I behaved badly. One, that I don't want to treat people that way anymore. Two, I have some information as to why I was doing that. Not that that's an excuse, but if you have a reason, then maybe you can figure out how to avoid it. And to me, this is really important. This is the importance of the self-reflection. And I've watched a lot of videos from, say, Mark Passio, okay? And I just worry that his demeanor really takes away from a lot of his point. But I understand exactly where he's coming from. The problem is, I think if you're truly doing proper shadow work, if you're truly introspective, like, you're not that often gonna have to go raging. Because even though parents yell when they're the most scared, it doesn't mean it works better. That's just their reason for getting freaked out. And it's not as effective, and it can be it can do exactly the opposite of what you want. It can be completely counterproductive because it turns people off. So but at the same time, I mean, I've been raised by parents who sometimes bark, and so I become that way myself, but I know it doesn't work as well. Nor does being condescending. Like, I've just been thinking about how stupid it is that we have all these people in our lives, trying to tell us, "Oh, you shouldn't watch that. You shouldn't watch this. You shouldn't talk about that. You shouldn't ask those questions." It's like that movie Encanto, Enchanted. The kids are all singing this one song. We don't talk about Bruno. Oh, no, no, no. Every kid is singing this song. And I don't know if it's black magic or white magic or whatever. I have no idea. All I know is these kids are obsessed with this song. And I don't think they get the message entirely, but subliminally they probably get it. But the point is, I'm trying to figure out why these things happen. Why does the whole crowd take charge of everything? Why do these themes take over everything? Why does that happen? How do we mitigate it? And everyone's shouting around us. How do we stay calm in that? How do we stay true to ourselves? I don't know. I found it a challenge to even go to the grocery store. Um, the past few weeks, I've tried going out on Saturdays, and it's very hard for me to do. It's I just have to breathe and smile and do my best to stay calm because there's some really crazy energy out there. But I don't know, somehow I'm very optimistic still. I think it's because I've realized I've felt very terrible at times in my life, and then I've been able to come out of it and feel amazing. So maybe it's just finding joy in some of the mundane, and then also it's like you see what is mundane in a new way because it becomes sacred. Um, it becomes everything just to have, maybe that little comfort food that you haven't had for a while. Maybe it's the way that one person makes something. And even though you try the recipe, it's not the same. Like you try to recreate their recipe, but it's just not the same. Like I could always tell if companies change their products, just the smell or the texture. And it's so sad. It's so sad when it happens when they go with a different ingredient. Because it's not the same. So we're trying to make more things ourselves, and um, I've been finding some really good sources for like my my plants, whether it be plants I'm growing, plants I'm going to eat, um, seeds I'm going to start on my own, or bare roots, or uh, my favorite people at the farmers markets. Um, I think this is where the magic is. It's like what we're preparing for is constant change. So how do we stay adaptable while still being ourselves in a way? And that's why I love reading these old books that I haven't read for many years. I love being with my children and then starting to recall memories from my time when I was that age. So we have to play the long game. Unfortunately, you don't get the richness of the poem if you just scan through it. Like, you just skim a poem to get the gist of it. No, that doesn't work. And some of us that appreciate poetry, we might read something dozens of times throughout our lives, and it might make you feel differently each time because it hits you in a different way. You're a different person. That's the trippy magic of a book is, like, the words don't change, but I do. So, how I take in this or that or how I don't, uh, the emptiness, the lack of understanding, that has great impact as well. So, thanks for listening to these musings. Hope you have a lovely day, whatever you may be doing, and do be aware, do pay attention, but try and appreciate what we have, um, because even when things seem desperate, I know that for me, my desperate moments have turned. So do your best. Talk soon.